Hello and welcome. You're watching Closing Trades here on ET Now. I'm Harsh Saita. With me is Aisha Faridi. And let's quickly take you through how the indices, especially the benchmarks, have done today. Absolutely flat day of trade. We've seen some bit of weakness, but probably post-noon, we've seen a flattening out in terms of absolutely any fluctuation in the market. So it's an absolutely flat day for the Nifty. The Nifty bank is perked up 0.33%, as you can see on your screen. What you can also see is, let's pull up the broader markets. That's where some bit of pain seems to lie. A 0.25% odd lower for the Nifty midcap 150 index. A 0.33% down for the Nifty midcap 100, which was on your screen at this point. The small cap index also seeing weakness. So those two have seen a bit of a slip, while the Nifty has held up to a certain extent. Let's pull up the advanced decline ratio, and the breadth is largely even Steven, with some bit of weakness coming through as the day has progressed. So you're seeing that breadth worsen as the day has gone by. So that's something also that you want to look out for. In terms of sectors, a 0.33% higher on the Nifty auto, so some bit of outperformance seen there. But outside of that, IT is having an absolute flat day. The metal index is the one which is really shining today in trade. 1% plus higher on the Nifty metal index. I'd also want to pull up the constituents of the Nifty metal, and Nalco is the one which is leading the pack at this point. Really solid day, good move, 4% higher on a Nalco. I'll be curious to know what's happening within the metal space and whether this kind of uptick can continue within metals. And we'll talk about that with both of our technical analysts joining in just a bit. I'm also going to talk about some of the sectors not doing as well. Outside of media, which is down 1.5%, there's some pressure on the realty index at the broader end. Consumer durables is down 1% as well. And you're seeing maybe some bit of pressure coming in even on the Nifty FMCG, which is down over 0.5%. So that's broadly the way in which it's playing out. One other sector which is really standing out is the Nifty PSU bank, 1.5% higher. If you look at it intraday, it's off the day's highs for sure, but nonetheless, it's holding up fairly well for itself. This is the other one, second consecutive day where it's the top gainer in trade today. But let me bring on board Sneha Seth, who's our derivative analyst for this afternoon, coming in from Angel One. Sneha, great having you. Let me first start off by understanding the setup with regard to Nifty Bank and your views. What is it that you're seeing? It's a truncated week. It's an expiry day today as well as tomorrow. Tomorrow is an extremely happening day. There's also policy tomorrow. How would you play the trade?
As of now, first of all, very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If you see, market has been in a range broadly. Like if you see Nifty has been stuck in a range of 24,500, 24,700, 800 on the higher side. So this 300 points is the range for Nifty. For banking index, if you see, the range is around 54,200, 55,000 on the higher side. So both the key indices have been stuck in a range. As of now, at the higher levels, we are again and again seeing some selling pressure coming in. The call writers have been shifting their strikes on the lower side. So from now, I believe unless and until we don't see a decisive move beyond the range, what I mentioned, one should avoid trading into index. Still, the biasness remains a little negative because every time whenever we are seeing some buying interest coming in, that is not getting sustained, at the higher levels. We are seeing some tentativeness at the higher levels. So at this point in time, stay away from the index. Focus on individual counters. Few sectors are doing good. You can focus there and play with the individual counters kind of a thing for now.
Okay, point taken, Sneha. Skip trading the Nifty, go stock specific. Kunal, hi, afternoon. Is that your strategy as well?
Yeah, I think stock specific is the way to go in this kind of a market. It's a completely divergent market. You started off with the day on a slightly positive note for the indices. The advanced decline ratio was almost 2:1. For the overall market, but then I think that has narrowed down significantly, and the range for the indices has also been, a little bit more narrowed in compared to the previous many trading sessions. The only reason which we can attribute is because of the expiry action, which has been going on. So there is evidence, it's evident that the markets are going for a decent amount of rollovers, at least on the stock-specific front, and that's why you're seeing a lot of churn happening across the sectors as well as within the sectors. Now, in this kind of a scenario, I think it makes a lot of sense to look at the levels for the index, because that will determine the way the markets will probably behave, or the index will start to trend, whether it's on the upside and the downside. We're still looking at 24,500 as a critical support for the Nifty. So till the time we trade above these levels, we can just hope and expect that the markets could be a little bit more stable and less volatile. On the upside, I would look at 24,750 to 24,800 as a breakout point for the Nifty. So till the time we trade into this 250 point band, we can expect the index to just about consolidate and trade in a very sideways kind of a manner.
Okay. Well, today it really seems to be that metal kind of day. Look at Nalco up almost 4.5%. Hindustan Zinc, Vedanta, JSW Steel, all of these names are looking smart. Sneha, any opportunities you're scouting from within metals for a trade?
So within metals, in the morning we did suggest Nalco. The counter looks quite good at this point in time as well. If someone gets a dip around 208, 209, that is the zone one should be adding fresh long positions. One can expect the target at least around 220, 224 is the target which I'm looking forward for. So one can go ahead and buy that counter as well. Apart from this, I have a buy call on Hindalco. So that is a pick which I'm liking. If you see the overall chart structure for this counter, the counter was continuously stable. In fact, it has been respecting the 20-dem on the daily chart continuously. So I believe the momentum over here can continue, and I expect the up move at least towards 790 is the level which I'm watching forward for, and the stop loss can be maintained around 748 in that case.
Okay. Kunal, any specific strategies from you?
So two buy calls is what I would suggest. The first is the one Ultratech Cement. That's a chart which I think after many days of a correction, I think has made a good comeback. So it looks attractive for 12,550 as a target on the upside, and stop loss could be kept at 12,000 mark. And the second would be a buy on Torrent Pharma. This stock is also making a good comeback from its minor ranged or tight range consolidation. So we'd look out for 3,880 as a target. Stop loss could be kept at 3,570.
All right. So those are the stocks on our radar, but there are some big buzzers in trade today as well. Tata Investment Corp, that one is perked up a very, very solid 13%. In fact, last 7 odd days, the stock has given returns of more than 40%, and that just doesn't seem to be stopping. We're up 15% in trade on a Tata Investment now. Then are some of the logistic players, and let's pull those up. A Blue Dart, there's also All Cargo Gati. So those two logistics players doing fairly well for themselves. Price hikes announced, and of course we'll have a slightly longer analysis on the announcement itself. So stay with us over the next hour and a half. But those two are also on the radar. You also have a Hero MotoCorp, which is up 3% in trade. Top Nifty gainer. Also, you have the September auto sales numbers expected now, maybe in the next day or two, for pretty much all auto counters. So you want to keep a track of some of those auto names, and we'll discuss those. The PSU banking index is up 11% for the month of September. Such an outstanding performance from what typically is an ignored or less light space, if I can call it, and that one has seen a very, very sharp outperformance. Bank of India, PNB, Canara Bank are some of the big outperformers this month on that index. 1.5% up in trade today as well. We spoke about the metal counters, and within that we spoke about Nalco in particular. But let's pull up something like a Subros. That one also buzzing. Stock is down 6% in trade, and we'll probably have a technical check on that. Man Industries, that one is seeing the heat as well. Well, Subros is now down 9%, by the way. Man Industries down 11% nearly, and SEBI issues their final order against Man Industries and promoters with regard to the forensic audit for non-consolidation of a subsidiary. They've been hiding losses of over 560 crore, which has been routed through a subsidiary and later converted into loans. Well, it's not looking pretty for that one. 10.5% lower on a Man Industries. So all of those are some of the big buzzers. But Kunal, I'm just trying to understand. Let's talk about maybe Tata Investment in particular. What are your thoughts, observations, this kind of rally that we've seen in the counter? Phenomenal rally. What next?
Yeah, this is an exceptional rally in the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks. This month itself is from 6,500 to 10,000. Of course, it's on the back of anticipation of the news flow for the entire group. But then I think, this is an exceptional move for Tata Investment. To try and catch the move at current levels is, of course, very, very tricky, because given the state of the market, we know that momentum, trades over here, if not backed by any kind of a major news flow, I think generally goes in for a bit of a toss. So I think at current levels, I would just wait and watch, not to initiate a buy on Tata Investment, even though the last, I think, 2 or 3 weeks, the stock has seen more than a 50% kind of a rally.
Oh yeah, it sure has. In fact, the market cap also has managed to cross 50,000 crore rupees. So what is really fueling this rally? Let me take it across to our researcher, Varun, and try and get in more insight on that.
Yes. Tata Investment share continued their sharp uptrend, surging 36% in just 7 days and making a fresh high intraday peak and across the market cap of 50,000 crores. This driven by the upcoming stock split and expectations of value unlocking from its stake in Tata Capital. Firstly, let's talk about the stock split. Record date for this stock split has been fixed for October 14th. This turns attractive for retail buyer as holdings discount kicks in. This is the first ever stock split in Tata Investments in history aimed at enhancing liquidity. Secondly, adding to investor optimism, Tata Investments hold 2.1% stake in Tata Capital, which is headed for much awaited listing. The IPO is expected to unlock a significant value for Tata Investment shareholders.
All right, thank you for that, Varun. So that one on our list, and of course, it's also on the back of the Tata Capital IPO. Now, Tata Investment holds around 3% in Tata Capital, and Tata Capital is going for a fundraise of maybe 17,000 odd crore, and that will mean a very, very significant valuation unlock for a Tata Investment. Around 5,000 crore is what its stake is likely to be valued at. So broadly, that's the take with regard to Tata Investment. But what we'll do is we'll slip into a very short break. On the other side, we'll discuss plenty more. There's PSUs, there's metals, PSU banks in particular. So stay tuned.
Back to closing trades right here on ET Now. Let's just revisit what the closing trades are settling in at, and absolutely flat, really. In fact, the range for the Nifty is much narrower than what we had at our hands yesterday as well, when every uptick got sold into and every dip was practically getting bought into. Much narrower than that today. We've just ambled around in a very, very slim margin from the high to the low of the day. 24,616 is where we're currently at. Other than metals and a few select banks, you're not really holding out broadly too much. And unfortunately, even the market breadth, that's actually, giving up. Look at a KPIT, for instance. That's down 6.5% right now. HDFC AMC is down about 3%. BSE has been languishing from the word go today. That's also down about 3% or so. And then, of course, Dixon Technologies, that's also down about 2.7%. And I think this is the second consecutive day that you're actually seeing some amount of downtick come in on Dixon. But Coforge, look at that. That's holding up 2.6%. And some of the IT names, like Wipro, for instance, that's also holding out. Kunal, do you think that trade is playing out where people are moving from niche tech companies like a KPIT Persistent, for instance, and is money actually moving hands to large cap and services plays? Are the charts indicating that?
Not really,
No?
as of now, but the tilt could probably be visible once the large cap stocks start to make a comeback. See, right now it's like all the stocks from the IT stocks, they are getting beaten down, whether it's large caps or mid caps. Of course, the degree of correction for the mid caps will be slightly bit more higher. But then I think, to try and say that if large cap stocks are making a comeback and the money is moving from the mid caps towards large caps, we need to see a couple of interesting turns. We need to see either the large cap stocks starting to be a lot more resilient towards market correction, and then there could be a point where large cap stocks make a comeback and gradually come back into a recovery mode, because that's where we couldn't probably tabulate the outperformance. But at least as of now, none of those kind of signals are being visible for these IT stocks.
Okay. Sneha, would you be trading anything within IT? I mean, KPIT, for instance, is down 7% today.
So as of now, for IT counters, I don't have any trade as such. In fact, I feel one should be sticking to metals and PSU banks.
And Kunal, any thoughts with regard to the move on KPIT? Because it looks very sudden and there's no news. So trying to understand what's gone wrong.
This could be an expiry related move also. This could probably happen, because closing of positions on one side and then maybe not rolling it over. But maybe I think once the FNO data is out for that, maybe then the idea could be a little bit more clear.
Yeah, stock is trading below 5-day, 20-day, 50-day, 100-day and 200-day moving averages. Correct. So significant weakness even going forward. Is that what one can expect on a KPIT? Or do you want to play wait and watch?
Assuming if the stock closes at levels of 1120 where it's trading right now, this could be the lowest weekly close I think since 2023 May June.
Yeah.
So I think in that sense, yes, the weakness could probably persist.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's been 3 consecutive days of decline that KPIT has seen. Today, of course, it's suddenly taken a tumble of about almost 7%, but the last 2 days also it saw some weakness come by. But look at an HDFC AMC, look at a BSE as well. Actually, there is a fair amount of churn happening within some of the select mid-caps. Look at a Dixon, for instance, Keynes for that matter. And some of these names, mind you, have been seeing a fall for the last 2 trading sessions as well. Let's bring up Keynes and let's see what it's currently up to. That stock also lower by about almost 0.7%. And Dixon, the entire EMS play, somewhat seeing some signs of profit taking coming in. Other than that, Kunal, in terms of a trend, anything that you're picking up specifically?
In terms of sectors, I think metals, PSU banks, these are the 2 sectors where there is a definite amount of momentum and push. And going into the expiry day, when you see such kind of trends, it generally indicates that traders are moving on to these kind of sectors, and they generally become strong performers going into the next series. So I would actually believe that PSU banks and metals could actually turn out to be a good play. I was also looking at the dollar index chart, and I think dollar index on the near-term basis is actually showing signs of a reversal, bearish head and shoulder pattern on the daily charts for the dollar index. So maybe I think that correlation with the dollar index is falling, that could probably also aid the metal index over the near term.
Okay, let's ask Dipan Mehta that. Dipan, hi, afternoon. Dipan, metals, that's one pocket which is holding out today, and so is PSU banks. You think there is merit in looking at PSU banks now and broadening one's portfolio there too?
Yeah, first of all, good afternoon and thank you for having me on your show. I think PSU banks are amongst the brightest spot within the bank NBFC space, and now their balance sheets and their internal growth dynamics are equal to or better than private sector banks. So even a switch out of private sector banks like HDFC, Axis or IndusInd Bank into SBI, Bank of India, Bank of Baroda, even a beaten down stock like PNB makes sense. I think they have a better growth prospect than the existing private sector banks. Metals, I'm not so sure why they're doing well at this point of time. And generally, I don't prefer commodity stocks. So for me, almost all metal stocks are an avoid. But Jindal Steel and Power, that has commissioned a new 5 million ton blast furnace, one of the largest in the country, at Angul, and they have doubled the capacity over there, and they have significant backward linkages over there to the mines as well. So that's one stock within the steel space one should look out for, because I think it's a good trading bet also. Over the next 2-3 quarters or so, they should report handsome profits.
And Dipan, what about, sorry, this is Harsh also joining in. Good afternoon. What about something like a KPIT Tech? We were just speaking about it. In terms of the way in which it's delivered on numbers, it's been so strong, right? But it's also auto-linked, and the global auto landscape, if I can call it that, is shifting. Is that one of the reasons for the possible pessimism? Because we've seen the stock fall quite a bit, and the target prices are quite strong where the investor community is concerned.
So you're right. I think, the entire EV and autonomous driving their entire center is shifting to China, and a lot of American car manufacturers, European car manufacturers are rethinking in terms of their strategies, and that is leading to a slight order flow slowdown for KPIT, and that's evident in the results as well. So we are seeing this kind of a correction. So I'd go a bit cautious when it comes to KPIT. On the whole, the software industry, our view is quite negative. But nonetheless, I think an equivalent company which I think has got shown some promise, and again disclosed that we are clients are invested, is Tata Elxsi. So Tata Elxsi has got an exposure to the auto industry. Unfortunately, it's got exposure to JLR as well, but I think that account more or less has kind of stabilized. And they have got some new order wins, some dedicated development centers as well with Suzuki Motors and some of the other European manufacturers, and that should scale up very well. So earning visibility for Tata Elxsi seems to be better than KPIT. So within the entire tech space, where you have to be extremely selective where you're invested in, I would say Tata Elxsi, maybe a Coforge, Persistent Systems. These are the companies which are kind of on our radar at this point of time. And then there's of course Newgen Tech, which also I think last 2 quarters disappointing numbers, but I'm sure it will pick up eventually considering this nature of business.
The rationale for that, Dipan, if I can ask you, because a Coforge also doing fairly well in trade today, 2+% higher.
See, I think that now the software industry, mid-cap stocks, first of all, have an advantage because even smaller order wins, smaller projects can give them that 10, 12%, 13% type of growth rate on a low base. And some of the verticals that say Coforge or Persistence are operating in, they really have a very solid, I would say, edge over there and are the preferred vendors, which is why they're getting the business flow from there. That's not the case with a lot of other mid-cap stocks, which are kind of doing run-of-the-mill businesses or projects. And the large-cap tech companies, the big problem with them is of course, the base of operation. So unless they get massive new orders and then those orders get converted to actual billing, they're going to be in a slow space. So extremely selective as far as software industry is concerned, but the track record and managing growth in such turbulent times, that shows the quality of management, which is why we are positive on, say, a Persistent, maybe a Coforge, a Newgen Software. So these are the companies we feel that have outperformed the peer group. Having said that, these are companies in which we and our clients are interested in, so our views could be biased.
Right. Okay, Dipan, stay with us. Lots more to talk about. But for now, let's take a very quick break. Flat for the Nifty, but so much individual stock price action happening. We'll track that on the other side.
We spoke about the Tata group of companies and Tata Investment in particular, the kind of rally that stock has seen, partly because of Tata Capital's 15,000 crore plus IPO, which opens on the 6th of October for subscription. Sharad is standing by to give us all of the details with regard to the Tata Capital IPO. Sharad.
If you look at it, it's a strong IPO expected to come into the streets, and the overall numbers, if you look at it, these numbers are coming out to be roughly of 310 to 326 rupees when it comes to the IPO pricing. The fresh issue would be of almost 6,800 odd crore rupees, and OFS would be coming at 8,600 odd crore rupees. This is a 15,000 crore plus IPO coming in. Now the lot size itself, that will be around 46 shares if you look at it. And interestingly, there will be two sellers there. One will be, of course, the promoter group, Tata Sons would be selling stake, and also minor stake selling coming in from IFC as well. But do remember, Tata Investment Corp is having 2% stake in the company, but they won't be selling their stake. But there's a lot of confusion and dismay if you're a shareholder for Tata Capital in the unlisted space. Now, if you look at it, the IPO price is at 326 rupee. Current market price was 730 to 735 as per the dealers which we had checked, 80 now, and that is significant discount at 55%. And the peak price, then also it's down by almost 70 odd percent. So the people who had invested in the unlisted space, there'll be a dismay for them. And of course, a lot of corrections are happening because of this. And interestingly, Tata Capital is the financial services company of the group, and it's the upper layer of the NBFC space as well, and the subsidiary of Tata Sons. So this is the entire pack for the Tata Capital space, but of course the real stress lies in the unlisted space.
Right, okay, that's that on Tata Capital. but let's just try and understand and, address the very lively, and that's just putting it, mildly, the primary market. There have been just so many IPOs that have come by in just the last 2 months alone, and one has sort of forgotten count of how many. Anything that's interested you?
There was this IPO of Jain Recyclers and recycling, sustainability. These are great investment themes to invest in. Very good upside potential for growth, considering that we want to recycle everything we can from environment perspective also, and also the fact that it is quite profitable. And this is one company which is engaged in copper, lead, and other metal recycling as well, and expanding capacity, and also a lot of export-oriented operations, including import of scrap and export as well. So that is one company I'm looking forward to in terms of listing whenever it gets listed. But other than that, I think many interesting businesses in recent times have got listed. They are still trading at expensive valuations. I'm just waiting and watching when they come at a nice level. Then we'll be looking at getting into them. Another company which comes to mind is Aditya Infotech. I think it's listed company, but very expensive valuation. They are the largest manufacturers of camera, and these cameras are used all over India, and they have a humongous market share. There are some certain other fundamental trends which are benefiting them as well, including application of AI to detect any alerts which the camera captures. So there are very interesting companies which have got listed. There are some other companies which are engaged in refurbishing of old electronic devices. I forget the name. So a lot of new business models coming into play, and I think that's where we are focused on.
Absolutely. Very, very buoyant and lively primary market. But Dipan, great to have you on the show. While it continues to be flat for the Nifty, let's go back to the primary market. And WeWork, that's India's 3,000 crore rupee mega IPO. It's going to open for subscription on October 3rd. And Sajid Mangat, my colleague, caught up with Karan Virwani, the MD and CEO at WeWork India, to talk about their IPO offerings and growth roadmap.
We have created operating leverage in the business. So just to give you, a sense of how our business model
as
works.
compared to others who are already listed.
Yeah, I mean, I try not to compare too much with others, but what we do is we go into the best micro markets in the country, best cities in the country, in the best assets, and we usually end up taking some large scale space on lease. We then put our design, our thought behind how to build a space for any type of business and put in capex into that, and over the course of the next few months end up actually ramping that occupancy up, where we're leasing space to basically small companies, mid-tier companies, and some of the best enterprises and large-scale enterprises in the world. Over and above just providing the workspace solutions, we're able to provide services that allow businesses to take away a lot more inconvenience that they have while growing a business. So this could be things like F&B to managing your events. When you have a town hall or an investor meet, our team is able to actually, curate that entire thing for you. Dedicated internet, dedicated lease lines, customizing your workspace. This services part of our business, is roughly about 11 to 12%. And then over and above that, we've created a new revenue stream which is driven by our digital products business, which allows us to actually create better utilization of the asset itself while providing customers with a product that allows them to just pay for space for a day. So for as low as 500 rupees a day, you can access a WeWork location, come use our space, get connected to the internet, have free tea, coffee, build your startup, do your work while you're in the office. And that part of our business is a huge margin driver for the company. So as occupancy fills up, as we're able to generate services revenue and also generate digital, grow the digital business, we're seeing that the margins are able to move from what is maybe industry roughly about 10 to 13% to our 22% EBITDA margins that we have today. So it's not driven by the pure fact of just putting capex in. It is the value that we're bringing by being able to design spaces a lot more efficiently and also have those fill up along with all of these other revenue streams.
The industry is divided between people who have or companies who have asset-heavy business models like yours, where you're putting upfront capex there, and others who have a lighter asset model where they are going to joint, development or revenue share methods, which is there. Why you have chosen the other way, asset-heavy, instead of being asset-light?
So look, for us, it's actually a risk-reward conversation. Our focus strategy, the way that we are growing and where we are growing, is to be in the top micro markets, in the top cities, in the best assets. And the reason that's where we want to grow is because that's where all of the demand actually is. That's where some of the best corporates, the best multinationals in the world, best Indian corporates, best startups in the country want to be. The heart of BKC, the heart of Cyber City Gurgaon, CBD Bangalore, High Tech City Hyderabad. These are extremely high demand locations where majority of all commercial leasing in India actually continues to happen and where landlords are delivering that capex. And because we feel like there is always going to be high demand, we feel like the risk is extremely low when we actually put in the capex, but the reward is extremely high. Typically, when you ask a landlord to put in the capex, you also have to share the margin and the revenue with the landlord. We want to keep all the revenue and margin because we truly believe that these are spaces that will always be in demand. Even in a down cycle, a BKC will always have need for space, or people will always look to grow within those micro markets. We have done asset-light deals with landlords. We do have certain locations which are operator-led where we just take a share of the revenue. These are typically in locations where we haven't had the kind of confidence that we would have in terms of the demand being sustained. Or we weren't sure at that period of time that there will be sustained demand. So the first approach we took was, maybe an operator-led deal. And this is where the landlords have invested. They get to keep most of the profit and the margin, where we just take a small share of that. Our brand and our product can do either of those products. We are not limited. It just becomes where are we willing to take the risk and also enjoy the reward.
सर, बिजली का बिल आया है। सोलर पैनल लगवाने के बाद भी अमाउंट बोलना है।
9% decline, and mind you, that's not how the first half or up until noon. In fact, the session panned out for KPIT, and now it's taken a sudden tumble. It's down about almost 108 points as we speak right now. Look at what's happening with Godfrey Phillips. Some of these high HNI dominated names. BSE down 3%, not such a meaningful move though. But that stock, of course, is down. Dixon as well is down about almost 3%. HDFC AMC is down 2.5%. Names like Hitachi Energy are also down quite a fair bit. In fact, we will revisit some of these names. But first, let's talk about the management of Advanced AgroLife as the IPO hits the street today. Let's hear out a slice of that exclusive conversation with their management.
Company B2B segment में काम कर रही है with a diversified portfolio of the product. Company के पास अभी various fungicides, insecticides, herbicides and PGR segment के portfolio के wide range of अभी currently company around 80 products manufacture करती है और company के जो client based है currently working with the big corporate customers of the agrochemical industry in the B2B segment.
Kedar, can you give us a sense of you're raising 160 crores? What is the amount going to be used for?
We will be using the
amount for backward integration and for working capital, and for R&D sector, just to improve the highly produced chemicals and advanced research molecules for the industry.
Mr. Chaudhary, you mentioned that you are into the B2B segments. Can you give us an idea of the profile of your clients in the B2B segment? So you don't sell directly to the farmers, but you sell it to corporates who then sell it to the farmers, right?
यस कंपनी के जो अभी जो करंटली जो पोर्टफोलियो है, कंपनी अपने B2B सेगमेंट में काम नहीं करती डायरेक्टली ऑन ब्रांड में, लेकिन कंपनी जो इंडिया की जो टॉप मोस्ट कॉर्पोरेट्स है उनके लिए वाइट लेबलिंग में करती है। उनके जो ब्रांडेड प्रोडक्ट्स हैं वो अपने ऑन प्रीमाइसेस में उनको मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करती है, और उनकी जो भी सर्टेन पैन इंडिया जो कंपनी का एक प्रेजेंस है, लाइसेंसिंग नेटवर्क है, उनमें उनके प्रोडक्ट्स को मैन्युफैक्चर करके और एक टाइम बिंग सप्लाई कंपनी करती है। कंपनी के पास एक 3 यूनिट का एक साउंड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, जिसमें कि 2 यूनिट फॉर्मुलेशन का है और एक टेक्निकल ग्रेड का है।
ओके, तो ये बेसिकली आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग करते हैं फर्टिलाइजर और एग्रोकेमिकल कंपनीज के लिए, जो बड़े कंपनीज हैं उनके लिए?
बड़ी कंपनीज के, दैट इज ट्रू। वी आर इन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, लॉन्ग टर्म कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमारे पास रहते हैं कंपनीज के, और उनके डिफरेंट हर्बिसाइड्स, फंजीसाइड्स, इंसेक्टिसाइड्स, ये प्रोडक्ट हम उनके लिए बना के देते हैं।
Kedar, can you give us an idea of the kind of relationship that is there? How long is these contracts or supply agreements that you have, and how do you look at the pricing on a year-to-year basis? Because if your plants have formulations and the technical products, how do you price them, and on an annual basis, how is the repricing done for these products?
For pricing and other matters, Mr. Om Prakash will give you the better opinion, because I look after the productions.
एक्चुअली हमारे जो अभी करंटली लाइक सप्लाई का जो सिनेरियो रहता है, उसमें क्वार्टरली बेसिस में हमारे पास कस्टमर्स की डिमांड आती है, और उसको हम क्वार्टरली बेसिस पे थ्रू द प्राइस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हम उनको टाइम बिंग सप्लाई करते हैं। और कंपनी के पास जो सबसे बड़ी स्ट्रेंथ है, दिस कस्टमर्स आर वेरी स्टेबल कस्टमर पोर्टफोलियो। कंपनी के पास लाइकली मतलब 15-17 ईयर्स के एसोसिएशन वाले कस्टमर्स भी हैं, और उनके साथ कंपनी ने ग्रेजुअली काफ़ी अच्छे नंबर्स पे ग्रो किया है, और कंपनी के पास आगे अच्छा एक स्टेबल बिजनेस है। और कंपनी के जो भी कंपनी ने अभी बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन किया है, तो इसका जो फायदा है वो जो भी मार्केट में प्राइस फ्लक्चुएशन और इन जो चैलेंजेज आते हैं बाजार में, जो इन चीज़ों को कैटर करने के लिए कंपनी बैकवर्ड इंटीग्रेशन के साथ अपना ओन टेक्निकल मैन्युफैक्चरिंग भी कर रही है, जिसका आगे कस्टमर्स को कंपनी फायदा देती है इसको।
Please also can you give me a sense of because you have long-term agreements with these companies to supply these chemicals, why is it that your trade receivable days are much more? If I'm not wrong, in FY25 the trade receivable turnover day is 111 days. Given the fact that you have long-term agreement with them, your working capital should have been lower and the trade receivable days should be lower. Why is it that this is long?
बिकॉज जैसे कि ये एग्रोकेमिकल इंडस्ट्री सीजनल सेगमेंट है, इसमें प्राइस जो एक कंपनी का क्रेडिट पीरियड रहता था 90 से 100 डेज का रहता है, और रिसेंटली कंपनी ने एक B2B सेगमेंट में रेदर देन कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग के अलावा भी कंपनी ने एक सेगमेंट में एंटर किया है। तो इसमें एक जनरली 100 डेज टू 120 डेज का एक क्रेडिट पास ऑन करना पड़ता है कस्टमर्स को, तो इसलिए कंपनी का ये थोड़ा ये डेज बढ़ा है।
सर, बिजली का बिल आया है। सोलर पैनल लगवाने के बाद भी अमाउंट बोलना है